The Sudrian Chronicles. Book 4. Tank Engine Thomas Again. Story 4. The Great Race. Originally written by Wilbert Audrey. Thomas was waiting at Navarre Junction. He idled at the station watching the spring leaves begin to blossom down the main line. He was interrupted by the spluttering of a car's engine as a little red bus entered the car parking lot. "And who are you?" asked Thomas snobbishly as the bus took some passengers from the side of the road. "I'm Butty Bus, and who are you?" "Vroom vroom," replied the bus just as rudely. "I'm Thomas T. Tank Engine. I run this line." "We," corrected Clara. "We run this line." "Ah, so you're Thomas. Oh, I remember you. You got stuck in the snow and I saved your passengers. Vroom vroom." "My passengers didn't need saving. Terrence had it under control." "I know Terrence. He's a scruffy little thing. He shouldn't be on the road if you ask me. Vroom vroom." "Hey, Terrence has every right to that road of his." "My manager says that we're competitors." "Competitors? Ha! I'm too fast to be your competitor." Bob wiped his brow, knowing full well what was to come next. Birdie laughed. "You're not too fast when you're eating fish and getting stuck in the snow, vroom vroom. I'm sure your coaches are faster than you." He eyed Annie and Clara with a devious smirk. "We buses don't need coaches. They're useless. You should scrap them and get some help from me, vroom vroom." The three were appalled. "You can't go faster than us," Thomas wheezed. "Yes, I can." "Can't." "Can." "Fine, let's race." "Fine." "Don't you dare," interjected Greg, Birdie's driver. Greg was a tall, lanky, ginger man. He donned the bus company's uniform with a stream of sweat leaking down his hat. "Oh, but driver," whined Birdie. "Mr. Manager would be so happy if we beat him in a race. You might even get a raise, vroom vroom." Greg pondered the ultimatum, his hand on his pointy chin. "All right, fine." "Aha, vroom vroom." Bob and Wade had grown used to Thomas's antics, so there was no coaxing needed. Thomas smiled in a staff but charming way. "Up to Farquhar, then." "Sounds good, but you might want to get turned around, vroom vroom." "Oh, do I?" asked Thomas, taken aback as both Cruz and the station master discussed the matter. "Can't win turned around like that." "We'll see, won't we, Clarabelle?" Clarabelle agreed as Thomas sat where he was. There was a click of a door as Bob stepped into Clarabelle. The station master walked on the platform between road and rail. "Are you ready?" she asked the two. "No, I'm not," wailed Annie. Birdie gave a vroom vroom as Clarabelle gave a ring of the bell. 3. Thomas released a big head of steam. 2. Birdie revved his engine. 1. Go! Birdie launched forward, burning rubber and forcing the passengers into the back of their seats. He looked on curiously as Thomas's train began to reverse up the line. "We can do this," cheered Clarabelle. "We can do this," cheered Thomas. "We can't do this," panicked Annie. His wheels spun frantically, shooting sparks into the air. Clarabelle could only smile as they set off triumphantly. "Clarabelle, you shouldn't join in on his antics." "Oh, come on, Annie. We'll show that bus what we coaches can do." She rang her bell as she chased after the bus. Clarabelle and Thomas swiftly picked up speed as they took a turn, swaying to one side and beginning their trip up the branch. Clarabelle crossed the tall viaduct in the middle of a three-way road. She watched as Birdie swiftly raced ahead on the terrace above. Bob told Wade from inside the cabin to open the throttle more. The three watched as Birdie raced down into the valley and stopped at a bus stop. He tooted his horn quickly with a vroom vroom, "Get in quickly, please." The passengers did so, and off Birdie went, darting back up to Thomas. They raced through Tory Wreck, over the watermill, and escaped to Wells Bridge. Clarabelle smartly applied the brakes as the train stopped gracefully to a halt. Bob wiped his brow. "You're smoother than Thomas." Clarabelle beamed with pride. As Birdie snorted over a bridge far behind and stopped at the station's parking lot. Ring ding, called Clarabelle. Getting quickly, please. The passengers were fast, but birdies were faster. They traded seats as with a swift vroom vroom, he departed. What's taking us so long? Whooshed Thomas. Clarabelle looked up at a glaring red light. The signal's down. Bother! Where's our connection? There was a meek peep, peep, as the dreadful-looking Henry puffed into the station. Where have you been, lazy bones? Thomas, for once stop putting Henry down. We're in a race with Bertie, you see, dear, but our signal hasn't gone up, and now we're running behind. Henry inspected the signal ahead that showed red for both lines, before flicking green for Henry to go. He sighed. Take my path. What? Why? Barked Thomas. Thomas, he's letting us go! But I don't get it. I've been nothing but a botheration to you. Why are you letting us go through? Because you're young. I know you don't mean it. Besides, I know what my little antics can do to an engine. Thomas paused for a moment. For once, he thought. He put the race to the side for an actual thought. I'm sorry, Henry. I shouldn't have been so rude to you. It's fine. Now go win that race. Thomas grinned broadly. Oh, we will. Thank you, thank you, Clarabelle sang, and before Bob could even touch the controls, she was already running up the line. Henry watched as Thomas trailed off, giving a sorrowful but thankful peep, peep, peep. Thank you, Henry. The little engine had a lot to think about as they sped on. He's sure to be a long way ahead, Clarabelle groaned. We'll catch him, assured Thomas. They climbed a steady slope with hills on either side. A bridge was perched in the valley in the far distance. There was Bertie, running over it and fleeing to the town. We're catching him, panted Clarabelle as she told Thomas to charge on. Sweat poured down her face when she was running flat. She glided over a long iron bridge where James sat stopped underneath by a signal. Shooting through a forest, she glided over the L's bridge gracefully. She watched fishermen catch lines, and Bertie, who had been stopped at a traffic jam from the road bridge, horns honked as he fumed at a red light where a truck had dropped its load in the middle of the lane. Bertie was telling the truck just where to put his belongings as the train flew into the town. Clarabelle ran through a halt, ignoring the request from the passengers. As quickly as she came, she left as she was now running through the open countrysides, past the grandiose windmill, and soon was approaching Maithwaite. She flew by remnants of an old water tower and stopped neatly at the station. Ring ding, she chimed as an old woman with a cane crept toward her. Oh my, Bob, be a dear and help this young woman out. The little old lady smiled crinkled as Bob jumped out and helped. She thought, for a moment, that this was her only delay. That was until a flock of more elderly people entered the platform. She watched from the parking lot as Bertie appeared, dropping them off. Here you go, vroom vroom, he snickered as he raced ahead, stopping at the crossing, right in front of the station. Vroom vroom, let me through, he ordered, but Clarabelle only laughed. We have the right of way, she smiled gleefully. The beautiful sun caressed down onto the coach's roof. It was unnatural, to say the least, for Bob to be so demanding to his firemen when they were in push-pull mode, but they took their roles seriously and responsibly. Except for today. They laughed instead as a bus and its driver sat at a closed gates in front of them. Stupid railway, let me through, barked Greg. I have a service to run, and I'm not going to lose my job because you lost time. Must keep them closed, explained Bob. Besides, we have a timetable to keep to as well, but you don't hear us complaining about waiting for passengers to board. On cue, the bell to the coach rang almost like a laugh. Ring ding, it chirped. It didn't stop until Bob had to find out what was ringing the cord. Meanwhile, the bus's engine was spluttering in revs. Vroom vroom, it barked, seemingly impatient. These machines, you'd think they were talking to each other, wouldn't you? Don't be silly, scoffed Greg. Why would a bus want to talk to some silly coach? When the time came for the train to leave, Stan the guard took a moment to blow their whistle. Clarabelle started slowly, walking over the crossing so Thomas could get speed up quickly. "Bye-bye, Bertie," he whooshed calmly. Once the gates were open, Thomas was already far up the line. They rounded the bend and approached Terrace's field when they were stopped dead in their tracks from a red signal. "Oh no!" shrieked Clarabelle. "This will take forever!" groaned Thomas as a rustic "peep, peep" echoed from the tunnel. There came a queer-looking engine. A vertical boiler was perched in the middle of them as side plates were strapped to their sides. "Hurry up!" barked Thomas, but Clarabelle warmly smiled. "Take your time, dear," she told. The old coffee pot smiled again with a harsh whoosh as a honking roared beside the line above. Bertie laughed as he took the lead. "Move, old man," wheezed Thomas as the coffee pot finally crawled off the points. With a bump, he charged Clarabelle on. "Why did they even still run on the line?" he cried as they ran into the darkness of the tunnel, as Bertie puttered over the hill above them. The race was neck and neck now in the final stretch as Clarabelle and Bertie raced through Hackenbeck. They roared over twin bridges as the station got closer and closer. Quick thinking, Clarabelle signaled to Thomas to apply the brakes. The tank engine instead threw it forward as they began to caress into a neat stop. Bertie roared alongside, keeping pace, ignoring any and all road signs. The passengers bounced around and peas like a frying pan as they both stopped, right next to the station. "Whew! Won!" gasped Thomas, sweat pouring down from his face. "You both won!" came a demanding voice. There, coming out of Annie, was the fact director and a lanky man in what would have been a nice suit. Instead, the two's attire was ragged from the bouncing and bumping. Coach, engine, and bus froze as both their owners came up to them. The fact director turned to them with the bus manager at his side. "I do not approve of this racing business. Your passengers and we have had a most unpleasant ride." He turned to look at the elderly people complaining and groaning as they disembarked the coaches. "It's my fault for the race, sir," pleaded Bertie as he turned to Clarabelle. "I shouldn't have made fun of you coaches, vroom vroom. You both are very useful." Annie and Clarabelle blushed. "You were rather dashing as well when you took the lead back there," spoke the latter coach. "You aren't that bad for a bus," called Thomas. The fact director smiled at this and continued. "However, you all have proven to us that you can work well together, and I am proud to tell you both that you shall continue to work side by side under our new partner agreements." "Yes," added the lanky man. "You both shall run equal services on the line, with Bertie bringing passengers from towns further from the railway line for Thomas to take on." Thomas and Bertie were happy. "As long as there are no more races." "Oh yes, vroom vroom." "Uh-huh, sure." Thomas and Bertie keep each other very busy. They talk about racing from time to time, but their owners disapprove of the matter. Though, between you and me, I don't think they'll listen. Do you?